Ursula and was no beauty. Don't get me wrong, she was very pretty on the outside, but in the inside it was a different story entirely. Her beautiful brown hair did fall in perfect curls, but she made 5 maids redo it a dozen times each morning just to be mean, and while she did have big brown eyes, they never twinkled with merriment. Instead, they glittered with malice and glared with anger. Her pretty mouth never smiled. It was too busy pouting and whining and yelling.
Since the day she was born, Priscilla was absolutely convinced that she was far superior to everybody, and she treated all her parents' subjects and servants accordingly. She ordered them about day and night, making them run back and forth for her pleasure. She never said please or thank you, and instead she stamped her feet, shook her fist, and complained about everything. Nothing was ever good enough. Her meals were too hot.
Too hot.
Or too cold.
Cold.
Her dresses were too tight.
Too tight.
Or too loose.
Why can't you get this right?
The furniture was too hard.
This isn't comfortable.
Or too soft.
Yeah, I think that's right.
And so on, as well you can imagine. Not only did Priscilla dislike everybody, but the feeling was definitely mutual.
Priscilla's parents and the king and the queen were very kind. They loved their subjects and ruled them fairly.
Hello. Hello. How's it going? Hello. 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 Hello.
They
How's
were
it
both
going?
extremely distressed about their own child's behavior and did all they could to improve their disposition. When Priscilla was a child, they hired the best storytellers and musicians to perform to her. They brought in other children for Priscilla to play with and filled her room with piles of toys, but Priscilla was rude to the storytellers.
Blah, blah, blah.
Broke the musician's instrument and chased away the children. She hoarded her toys and asked for more, but she never played with them. The king and queen became desperate. They even tried putting extra sugar into her meals, hoping to sweeten her temper. But although the court dentist was pretty busy, nothing working. As Priscilla's 16th birthday approached, the queen said to the king with tears,
I am at my wit's end. We are tired with everything. We tried everything we could think of. There's nothing that works. Our daughter is awful. She will never be a good successor to the throne.
And no one will ever want to marry her, even for half the kingdom. Besides, she would never accept anyone as a husband of hers.
Before we give up, maybe we should consult our council once more. Perhaps someone has thought of a new idea we could try.
And that's what they did. All the royal counselors gathered in the royal meeting hall to offer their advice on the vexing situation. They murmured knowledgeably and scratched their heads wisely, but nobody could think of anything to say. After 16 years, they were all out of ideas.
Eventually, everyone realized that somebody would have to say something. He was retiring soon and felt he could take a little risk.
Let's approach this problem. Practically for 16 years, we have been racking our brains to determine how to make Princess Priscilla more pleasant. Perhaps we should approach this dilemma for another angle when the princess is most pleasant.
This was a difficult question. The princess was seldom in a good mood. Finally, after a lot of head scratching, one counselor said brightly,
This princess seemed to be in a good mood when I saw her yesterday.
Well, what was she doing?
She was twisting the royal cat's tail.
The counselor wished he had kept the facts to himself.
Yes, well, thank you. That wasn't exactly what I was looking for.
Oh, and what's the use? Princella's only pleasant when she's asleep.
Aha, that is interesting. Sleep is known to have curative and soothing powers. Maybe all the princess needs is a nice long sleep.
What do you mean? Priscilla sleeps quite well, even if the bed is never made to her satisfaction.
When I say long sleep, I mean really long sleep, one that may last for years if necessary.
For years? How is that possible?
Well, we could have a court magician cast a spell that would make the princess sleep until her temple. I shouldn't say knows.
I guess that might work.
What if she never melts? We just can't let her sleep forever.
I have it. The spell will work until either the princess becomes pleasant and happier until 100 years have passed. If she is still sleeping after 100 years, the prince will find and kiss her under the spell.
We will have to think about this for a while. No matter how terrible she is, Priscilla is still our daughter, and we must do the best for her. Despite the king and queen.
The relieved counselor dispersed, and the king and queen retired to their chamber.
After months of thinking and watching Princelet fully reduced, everyone around her to tears by both cruel words and cruel actions. The sad parents howled that a long sleep was Princelet's only hope, and once they reached that decision, the king and queen had to find a way to carry it out. After counseling the court magician, they decided to throw Princella's a sweet 16th party. They would present her with an exchange spittle as one of her gifts, and careless princess was sure to prick herself, unleashing the spell. On the day of her birthday, Princella had a great time. She yelled at all 5 of the maids who helped her get ready, pulled their hair, and made them change her dress and hairstyle 20 times. On the way to the ballroom, she tripped the servants who were carrying trays of food for the dining table and then laughed hurtfully while they scrambled to pick up the broken dishes and clean up the food. She kicked her pet dog hard enough to send it flying across the room and sniped the blossoms off the flowers' arrangements.
During the party, she continued to enjoy herself. While dancing, she stomped on her partner's feet with her spike heels, which she specifically wore for that purpose. When all the guests in their fancy clothes sat down to dinner, Priscilla began to throw and spill red wine and food at everybody to see that their taste. The guests were horrified, but said nothing. After all, she was the princess, and it was her birthday. The king and queen sat helplessly as they watched their daughter tormented the honored guests. They knew if that anyone reproached Priscilla, she would throw a tantrum.
Finally, the time for opening gifts arrived. Princeella ran to the pile of beautiful wrapped packages and began ripping bows and papers. As she unwrapped each present, she made fun of it and of the person who gave it.
Calls a gift.
Naturally, nothing was good enough for her, and she did not fail to let everyone know it. Eventually, she opened the spittle.
enjoying my time such as this stupid activity. But I think I would make good use for this sharp point. Yes, indeed, it would help me make servants move faster. Ouch! Oh yes, this will do. Fine.
Then she nodded again more slowly, and the nod was complemented by a large yawn. A few minutes later, Prinsella was fast asleep.
If the guests thought this behavior was strange, they did not mention it. They were only too happy to say their goodbyes and tiptoe out of the palace. Most of them had come to the party out of respect for the king and queen, and while they pitied the poor couple, the guests did not want to spend any more time with the unpleasant princess that was absolutely necessary. After the guests left, the king and queen placed their daughter in a tower just outside the castle wall, thinking a prince was more likely to kiss her if he did not have to go through a whole palace to reach her. The queen put the spindle near the bed, as the sight of it made her too sad to keep it as a castle. The king and queen made sure Priscilla was comfortably and beautifully dressed, that the room was warm and clean, and they visited her every day.
As time passed, fewer people remembered Prinsella, and the tower in the wood became the center of many legends. The only true thing people remembered was Princella's great beauty. People added new elements to the story, creating fairies and Julius witches to make it more interesting. Someone even insisted that the princess was cursed because one fairy felt snubbed when she was not invited to the birthday party, and so the sleeping princess became more and more mysterious until no one remembered how nasty Priscilla had been.
About 100 years after Priscilla went to sleep, a prince was riding through the forest around the walls of the old castle. He heard many stories about the beautiful and mysterious sleeping princess. He was rather conceited. He was sure that she was meant for him. He spent days wandering through the forest, hoping to glimpse the tower. The thorny branches tore at his clothes and skin. He and his horse were tired and hungry, but the prince was determined to accomplish his mission, and the horse did not have a choice. One morning he spied the tower, which was lit by the rising sun. The prince hardly noticed the next few.
Hours as he hacked his way through the brush, he was busy imagining what the princess would look like and composing what he would say to her. When the prince finally reached the tower, he found the door open. He flew up the curving stairway, breathless with The stairs ended abruptly, and suddenly the prince burst into a big room, in the middle of which the princess was sleeping on a large, luxurious bed.
The prince stopped and stared. He even pinched himself to make sure he wasn't dreaming. Until this moment, he realized he had not been completely convinced that the stories he heard were true. His knees grew weak, and he had to hold on to the walls to keep from falling down.
The princess was as breathtaking, beautiful as he had imagined. For once, her face was relaxed and not screwed up in a scowl. Her many curls spilled onto the pillow, framing her face, and her clothes were very becoming. The century-old fashion was just coming back into style.
Once the prince reclaimed his wits, he slowly approached the bed and kissed Priscilla reverently. He stepped back and waited to see whether the enchanted princess would wake up as legend said she would. The story was true. Then she looked up and saw the prince gazing at her with love in his eyes. When she, without a second thought, she reached up and slapped the prince across the unsuspecting face.
You see, Priscilla was not a morning person. The poor, astonished prince stumbled and fell backwards, and all the words he'd composed flew out of his head. This was certainly not what he'd expected.
What in the world do you think you're doing?
How dare you come into my room and kiss me? Guards, guards!
As Priscilla's smooth forehead wrinkled with rage, her large brown eyes narrowed with hostility, and her round cheeks flushed an angry red, her beautiful face turned downright ugly.
He never told anyone what happened. He was sure no one would believe him, or that anyone who did would laugh at him the rest of his life. One thing he did know for sure, he would be a lot more careful about who he kissed in the future.
Meanwhile, Priscilla was becoming unhappier by the second. She soon realized that she was not in her room in the castle and that nobody was rushing to answer her call. In anger, she climbed off the bed and began stomping around the room. She flung a chair at the window, ripped the curtain, and kicked the night table. Then she the spindle that her unhappy mother had left by her bed. The enraged princess grabbed the spindle and aimed it at the window. As she did so, one of the spindle's sharp ends pricked Priscilla in the hand. Unfortunately for Priscilla, 100 years had not erased the spindle's magic, and she began to feel very sleepy. She barely had time to climb back into her bed before her eyes closed in a deep, peaceful slumber.
Here ends the real story of Sleeping Beauty. As far as I know, she still sleeps in her tower in the forest, still beautiful and still unmellow.